right, welcome back, everybody. Thanks for joining us on Unslaved. We have the return of our good friend Caleb Lamont, and we're happy to have him back. And we're going to be talking about a forgotten healer named Baron Karl Reichenbach. It's somebody I've never heard of before, so I'm in for a lesson today. Good to see you, Michael, as always. And Caleb, welcome back to the show, man.
Thanks for having me back. It's an honor to be on.
Well, give us a little background into how you came across this gentleman we're going to be talking about today.
So the way I came across him was because I had done a internet search for somnambulism and cramp. I actually put those words in a Google search engine, and up popped a book written by him in the 1800s, which was called Somnambulism and Cramp. That's the short story of it.
That's it was a German. I mean, because just that fact alone, think of Professor Hummer, think of Wilhelm Reich, although he was Austrian. But this Germanic Empire seems to produce some, Victor Schauberger. And here's another one whose name has fallen through the cracks, right?
Yes. He comes from a scientific industrialist background, but towards the end of his life, he became fascinated with a mysterious force, which he called the Ode Force. And he dedicated himself to unveiling it and studying it. And he wasn't taken seriously by the mainstream at the time. And then he passed away, and it was a long time before anybody actually took him seriously. But he wrote a lot, and he wrote in the German. Two of his books have now been translated into English. So it's one of those things where the interest for what he was looking at actually came back quite a while after he had passed away.
There'd certainly be a tie-in then to Reich, in the sense that they were both looking for mysterious, etheric forces with an emphasis on the body, that whether it's orgone or bion, it's not just something free floating around in the universe externally. This thing that they immediately have in common is that they're speaking about something that's also internalized to the body, to the cell. That's certainly something that's in common, right?
It is, because everything that people take for granted is machine-based. So what are the forces that make a machine move? What are the forces that so electricity and magnetism and everything that we need in order to power machines? And that sort of bled through, I think, to medicine, and is the reason why allopathic medicine prevails as opposed to naturalistic or naturopathic holistic medicine, because it's coming from a dismissive attitude towards any understanding of things that is not mechanistic. Reich was studying orgone. Reichenbach was studying ode. And these are not things that have any application for operating machinery, which is fine. But why is there a attitude that dismisses things having an effect on humans just because they can't be measured with mechanical devices or used or harnessed in order to power a machine?
Yeah, and even more bizarre, since the universe itself, which is obviously powered by something, isn't a machine. So yes, of course, there's something extraordinary about the psychology of materialism or determinism or scientism. And these people that we deal with all the time are just the case studies, the poster children for the fallout. These are quite radical people. You can even be halfway to where they're at and still fall foul of the system, let alone to be. And remember, Paracelsus was German. Hahnemann, the creator of the whole homeopathic system, Bach flowers, whatever you want to call it, it's all coming out of Germany. And so there is this kind of metaphysical, so to speak, consciousness that is epitomized by the German race, the Germanics. And we're only talking healing here, not even philosophy and what have you. Then it really comes to town, but great music, great painting, great thoughts. So they seem to have that in common. Now, did this character, did Reichenbach ever leave Germany, or did he travel to America or anything like that?
Before he started on all of this, I think the first thing he did when he got out of school was actually create a secret society in, I forget where, like in Tahiti or some weird place off somewhere. But this was during the Napoleonic Wars, and Napoleon actually arrested him and threw him in prison or whatever. So until all of that was over, and then when he got out, he went to being a scientist, a chemist. He actually invented a few different types of rubber. He invented some of the chemicals that we use that are like really common chemicals. He invented them, and then he went around studying steel factories, and then he went and built his own steel factory and operated that for a while, and had this whole life. But then towards the end of his life, he just switched over to studying this more subtle phenomenon.
Yeah. He's a mystic, and he was surrounded by them. Your Victor Schaubergers, your Steiners, and many others that are known in Germany and not known in the West for obvious reasons.
I think I read that he had been influenced when he was a kid because his father had a library full of books by obscure German naturalists. So it would be like the German versions of Thoreau and Ralph Waldo Emerson, and he was reading those guys.
Yeah. What sign was he?
That I don't know. Yeah, I should look that up.
And we'll get to the connections later to sleepwalking and this connection with that force, but because that's really bloody fascinating. And also that it hasn't been picked up on yet. Here's a man who wrote something about this in the 19th century, and you think it would have entered the mainstream, of pathology and things like that, and it really hasn't. This always worries me, because for every great genius whose teachings is neglected, some bogus shit gets the marquee, and people follow that down the line. Now, and then we could even explore Otto Rank had very suggestive ideas on somnambulism. Now, you've had it in your life. You said a friend or some relative had the problem?
I had a close friend who I had known for about a year, very close to them, and after associating with them for nearly a year, they all of a sudden became a sleepwalker. And I ended up spending nearly the next year taking care of him basically while they were having these symptoms. And we were I was trying to cure it, you know. At the time, actually, we were already like into herbalism, and
Yeah.
I was racking up a book collection on herbal remedies and also nutritional remedies. Dead Doctors Don't Lie, and the whole Let's Play Doctor by Joel Wallach. So I just started.
Masterpiece.
Yeah. So I just started trying different things, and we were keeping a journal daily. So she was also having severe nightmares. So we recorded all the different factors like diet, nutrition, and recording the symptoms, and came to the point where and also I was calling into the Dr. Wallach show as well. So I actually got to talk to Dr. Joel Wallach on his show, and I called him twice. First time he said it's a blood sugar problem. So I'm doing all this research at the same time. Blood sugar being what causes sleepwalking. Then I called him again and told him some results. We were having some positive results as a result of potassium, which completely eliminated the nightmares. And that's also been confirmed with one other person I knew who was having nightmares. So I don't know if anybody has that problem. Try potassium pills, see what happens. It might just wipe it out. And when she started taking pseudoephedrine, which is like a medication, I think for allergies, it completely just annihilated the symptoms for a few weeks. And then they came back. I guess the effectiveness of that drug wore off. And Joe Wallach said, well, those are anti-inflammatory. So if you were seeing relief of symptoms from that, it means it's inflammation of the brain. So we kept working at it and everything. And fish oil actually helped me, you know, anything that anti-inflammatory ends up helping, eliminating sugar out of the diet. During this whole process, she was getting up and sleepwalking out into the road. So she lived right next to this really dangerous road. And, you know, I was trying to keep her out of the road. You know, if there was nobody there with her, she could easily just get up and take a stroll down this dangerous road, sort of 10% aware of her surroundings, and get hit by a car. So we ended up getting her to place out in the woods. So that's where she lives now. And once I got her over there and she was all moved into this cabin, our association ended. Had a little bit more contact with her afterwards by phone, and I was still looking for more research, and the internet seemed to only be yielding very, very superficial information about sleepwalking. So I had to get creative with my searches. Also, towards the end of me and her talking, as I was taking all of these meticulous notes of the symptoms and everything, I was also recording any other symptoms, even if they didn't seem to have anything to do with the sleepwalking. We were also just keeping track of all of the other symptoms and everything.